Hi, I'm Dan Safford. I've been a proposal writing consultant and specialist since 1986, and I'm here to tell you something that I know you already know. Proposal writing is hard. Well, there you have it, what I've learned for the past 25 years. No matter who you are, no matter how many times you've written proposals, no matter how many times you've won, proposal writing is hard each and every time you start up a new one. Now, I'm not here to offer the silver bullet that makes proposal writing easy. There ain't no such magic. I've never seen it. I ain't got it. But I am here to describe an approach that I've refined over the years that lets you focus on the three main things in any winning proposal. Number one is compliance, number two is persuasion, and number three is readability. I call it CPR for short. Here's my thinking about CPR in a nutshell. You focus on compliance first because non-compliance will get you thrown out of the competition. That's the first thing that the evaluators look for, is whether or not you've met all the requirements in the RFP. If not, they'll boot you. Then you concentrate on being persuasive. You have to display your evidence of understanding of the customer's needs and problem and your ability to do the work or to provide the products they need. Plus, you've got to also add the benefits that your approach or your products brings to the customer. Then, after you've nailed those first two, compliance and persuasion, making sure you can make your proposal readable so that they can get through and see all the goodness that you bring. Okay, enough intro. Here's how to give your proposal CPR. Before we get going, I want to tell you what you'll learn in this video. We'll talk about what CPR means, how to make your proposal compliant, persuasive, and readable, and how to structure your proposal preparation process around CPR. All right, now let's get started. Give your proposal CPR. As I said in the intro, this stands for compliance, persuasion, and readability. Compliance means that you need to follow the RFP requirements and give the evaluator exactly what the RFP asks for in the order in which it asks for it. Persuasion simply means that you demonstrate your competence, prove that you can do the work, and show the benefits of your solution, prove that your way is the best way. Finally, you must make your proposal be readable. This simply means make your proposal as easy to read as possible. Okay, CPR. Let's take a look at each one of these in more detail. First up is compliance. Now remember that proposal evaluation is a process of elimination, not selection. Evaluators look for ways to deduct points, and the first thing they'll zero in on is compliance. Have you given them everything they've asked for in the RFP? If not, points off. And believe you me, proposal evaluation is all about the points. So it stands to reason that you should spend as much time as you can afford during the proposal process first working on compliance. This means you need to read, understand, and meet every RFP requirement. And I mean all of them. For example, organization. Have you outlined the proposal as the RFP says to? If the customer has issued a formal solicitation, like an invitation to bid or a request for proposal, or maybe a posting on FedBizOps, he will include some guidance about how he expects the proposal to be organized. He may have a section called Proposal Format in the RFP, which will give you some specific instructions. In federal RFPs, this is Section L, Proposal Preparation Instructions. No matter how you get this information, you need to follow these instructions to the letter. In a FedBizOps posting, the customer probably included a list of topics he wanted covered. You need to address each of these topics, preferably in the order in which they are listed. Whatever the situation, always look for some indication of how the customer wants you to arrange the sections in your proposal. There's a reason why they give you an outline to follow, and this is because each evaluator is going to read numerous proposals. If each of the proposals follows the same outline, it makes it easier for the evaluators to find what they're looking for in each proposal. If you deviate from the outline they've given you and use your own organization because you think it sounds better or tells your story better, well, that will make it harder for the evaluator to look for the stuff they're trying to find in your proposal. And when they have to search for stuff, that generally makes them mad. And believe you me, the last thing in the world you want is your evaluator to be mad at you when he's scoring your proposal. Okay, also, you have to make sure you hit all the technical requirements. Have you developed a solution that addresses all the technical needs called out in the RFP? Now, some work you propose on must meet a set of technical or product specifications published in the RFP. If you're proposing on a services job, this is usually the scope of work. If the RFP says you must show how you will meet the spec, your proposal must address each item in the spec or the scope. Now, this can sometimes throw your page count into a tailspin, but that doesn't matter to the evaluator. You need to find a way to do it because they'll be looking for it. Okay, contracting requirements. These are requirements that you have to look at too. Have you addressed all the standard boilerplate clauses referenced in the RFP? My best advice here is to read the contracting clauses carefully and see if your firm can live with the terms and conditions. You may have to get your lawyers to look at it to make sure. Some teams just give this a passing look and consider it boilerplate and move on. Well, boilerplate it may be, but you're on the hook for complying with it. Some RFPs require you to show how you will meet some of these contracting requirements in your proposal, so don't ignore it. Evaluation requirements. Have you met the evaluation criteria published in the RFP? Most RFPs will tell you what criteria the evaluators will use to score your proposal, and you need to think hard and long about how you will show how you will meet the criteria. Do not ignore any one of them. Make sure that you address all of them. And don't expect the evaluator to intuit whether or not you have met the criteria. You must make it obvious. Tell them that you will do X in order to achieve criterion Y. Format. Have you met the font style, the font size, page limits, margins, paper quality requirements? All of this stuff matters. If they require your proposal to be printed on with soy-based ink on recycled paper, don't ignore this requirement. Like I said, compliance is the number one thing that they look at as they start to read and evaluate and think about taking points off of your proposal. If you meet all the requirements, good. If you miss one, they can eliminate you without even reading your proposal. And I have seen this happen. So, in short about compliance, have you done what the customer has asked you to do in the RFP? End of story. Now let's take a look at what I mean by persuasion. First thing is, you have to show that you understand the specific work of the specific project, and you do this through details and examples. Evaluators look for evidence that you are competent and capable of doing the work, that you understand their situation. When they find evidence of this in your write-up, they are persuaded that you can in fact do the work or provide the product they need. You also need to show your competence in meeting the technical requirements by giving a detailed and unambiguous description of your approach. This means that you must explain what you will do to meet the given requirement, which is your approach, how you will do it, the details associated with your approach, and why you will do it the way you have chosen. What's the reason for this approach in the context of the larger project? These details show that you know what you're doing as professionals, and that you have applied your professional judgment in determining what work is necessary to meet the requirements. This is important in persuading the evaluator that you are capable of doing the work, which is one of the things they're looking for more than anything else. Also, you have to show specific benefits that your way of doing the work brings to the customer. This is the essence of persuasion. A benefit is something the customer wants, not what he needs. A benefit is not a feature. It's not what you're bringing to the table. It's what the value of what you're bringing to the table is to the customer. We talk about this a little bit more in other videos. You persuade your customer to pick you by offering more benefits than anyone else. When you show that your approach or product gives them what they really want, benefits, they are even more persuaded that you know what they want and have thought about how to make sure they get it. And the team that offers the most benefits has the inside track to winning. And last but not least, we come to readability. And rule number one for readability is make it easy for the evaluator to get through the proposal. Now there's a whole lot that goes into this, but here's a short list of things you should do to keep the reader reading. Write to express, not to impress. Keep your sentences and paragraphs short. Write in the active voice, not the passive voice. And use graphics that communicate clear ideas and concepts. If evaluators have a hard time slogging through writing that is dense and long-winded, filled with passive voice and $20 words, they quit reading. And when they quit reading, they start to skim. And that's not the way you want them to be evaluating your proposal, believe you me. Okay, that's CPR in a nutshell. I even go so far with CPR to suggest that you structure your proposal writing process around it. I've found that concentrating on one objective at a time allows the writers to focus on achieving that objective alone. If you tell them to go off and prepare a first draft that is compliant, persuasive, and readable, I guarantee you will get a draft that is only partly any of those. So, I suggest this. Your first draft should be a draft for compliance. For the rough draft, focus on meeting all the requirements of the RFP. Since that's arguably the most important wicket to get through, remember they can toss you out if you're non-compliant, then it stands to reason you need to get this right early. Next, you conduct your first review for compliance. Read the sections and concentrate only on whether or not they address the RFP requirements. Ignore the lousy writing in the bullets. I mean, why do you think we call the first draft the rough draft anyway? Then, for the second draft, fix any non-compliance issues you found in the first draft and then begin writing the second draft for persuasion. Here's where you start adding those details and benefits that give the evaluator evidence of your competence and your ability to deliver what they want. Then doing the second review, review for persuasiveness. Again, don't sweat the readability yet. You're not worried about how it reads right now. You're still worried about making sure you got everything in there that they want to see. Your most important task at this stage is making sure you persuade the evaluator. Then, on the third draft, you can begin to write for readability. Shorten those long sentences, swap out passive voice for active voice, simplify your language, and then finally, you review for all three. This is the final review before the proposal goes out the door. Make sure you nailed everything you wanted. All right, look, I know that it's difficult to enforce this kind of discipline on yourself or your proposal team. I understand you have to be doing your real job at the same time you're writing a proposal, and sometimes the proposal gets shoved to the back burner until it's late in the process. But if you apply a disciplined approach and start working at this incrementally, focus on compliance first and then persuasion and readability, eventually, I believe you'll work into a rhythm that addresses all three critical elements in an order that allows you to make sure you spend the most time on each. All right, one last thing before I sign off. Everything in the proposal is about CPR. There is nothing that is not about CPR. If it ain't about compliance, persuasion, or readability, it doesn't belong in the proposal. The offer you develop to meet the customer's requirements has to be based on compliance with what the customer tells you he requires in the RFP. The benefits you cite start with figuring out how to show you can give the customer what he wants. The competitive advantage you bring influences the persuasiveness of your offer. The outline you prepare must be compliant with the RFP requirements. The sentences and paragraphs you write must help the evaluator read and understand your proposal. And the graphics you select can help you meet compliance, highlight your persuasiveness, and help the evaluator understand your offer. Well, that's the 25,000-foot view of CPR. Actually putting these concepts into practice, though, as they say, the devil's in the details. The rest of the videos in this series all revolve around how to give your proposal CPR. So take a look. You can always send questions and comments via the form on the page. And don't forget to check out the rest of the videos. And until next time, happy proposaling.